Welcome to Motivational Mondays. This is Fred Raak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading. And today we're going to be discussing the motivational wheel. But before we start, make sure to like and subscribe so that you can get future content like this. Now, as a personal favor, I'd ask for you to share it with friends and family so you can help our channel grow. So, the motivational wheel. Could a Toyota Yaris ever become a Ferrari 296 GTS? And my answer is yes. As a human being, you can make the transformation. But before we get into the specifics, what is a Ferrari 296 GTS and what's a Toyota Yaris? The main difference, okay, is their speed. Obviously, a Ferrari is much faster. And in fact, going from 0 to 60 for a Ferrari 296 GTS only takes 2.9 seconds. However, for a Toyota Yaris, it takes 9.7 seconds. So clearly a huge difference between the two. But here's the catch. Both vehicles go incrementally from 0 to 60. A Ferrari doesn't jump from 0 to 60. It goes from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3. Now, it does it at a much more accelerated pace, but it does go through the entire gamut, the entire numbers, okay, from 0 to 60. And guess what? So does a Yaris. A Yaris also goes from 0 to 60. Now, if I have two of these vehicles simultaneously going at 60 miles per hour, they're both going to be at the same pace. Both not going to be, one's not going to be ahead of the other just because you've got a fancier car or a nicer color. You're going to be going at the same pace. Now, this is what's interesting about the motivational wheel. When we're motivated to do something, when we are moving in life, when things are just moving and we don't disrupt that momentum, we can continue going at that 60 miles per hour, whether we're a Ferrari or whether we're a Yaris, okay? However, when we get disrupted, does our wheel, okay, when going from 0 to 60, how fast is our acceleration? How fast are we getting to that point that we're back in that momentum of 60 miles per hour? And that's what you got to ask yourself. And that's also what you got to do in how to hack it to get to that point that you're going from, instead of going to taking you a much longer time period to get to that 60 miles per hour, instead of, let's say, seconds, let's call it days. So for you to get back into a momentum, let's say in 3 days, that's great, okay? Vis-a-vis, to get back into that momentum will take you 9 days. And what ends up happening within those 9 days, you'll have other disruptions that you'll never get yourself back into that momentum because you've had a longer time period to get back into that momentum and also have created more distractions within that time period in order for you not to get that back into that momentum. So this is the catch. How do you go from a Toyota Yaris to a Ferrari? And that's the major question here. And in my humble opinion, I think you've got to ask yourself why. Why am I doing this? Why am I working out? Why am I working so hard? Why am I, doing X, Y, and Z? Why am I reading so many books? If you know a good why and you have that answer inside of you, you could jump yourself back into that headspace of going from 0 to 60 like a Ferrari because you have a good why, you have a good reason, you have a good story to tell. You have something that's empowering you to carry you through that lack of momentum, to put you back in that momentum. And that's really a key factor of it. So the motivational wheel, that only goes in if you have a really good reason for what you're doing, There's not going to be a good impetus unless you can create that. Now, I would really document it, and I've documented myself several times to see how long it does take me to go from 0 to 60 vis-a-vis what's going on in my life. Whether or not, there are some personal challenges or some economic challenges or some financial challenges or just, that time of the year where it's like winter and it's dreary outside and you don't want to go and step your nose out, right? Whatever that factor is, if you could document it so that you're aware of it and you're mindful of it, you could create a much faster motivational response in getting yourself back into that groove. And that's where we grow. We're growing into trying to make that return much faster. Now, this is one of the best lines I've ever heard a broadcaster ever say it. and was talking about John McEnroe, one of the greatest tennis players who's ever lived. Now, I've met John McEnroe, and he does have a chip on his shoulder, and rightfully so. The guy really, really worked on himself. And, you know, whether or not it's justified, that's another story. But I'll tell you something about him that the broadcaster said that he was returning a serve and he had slipped. And the broadcaster said, as it happened, so instantaneously, he got up before he fell down. And I thought that was just so incredible. He got up before he got down, meaning he anticipated the falling down, that it helped him get right back up in order to return the serve. And he ended up winning the match. And that is something that is so empowering, because that is something that John McEnroe worked out, that he had a certain goal and he had a motivation to meet that goal, and he had a very strong why. And that's how he got himself to get up before he fell down. Now, we all fall in life, whether it's financial setbacks, relationship setbacks, whatever it happens, we need to get to the point where we're returning the serve much faster. We're going from a Yaris to a Ferrari, and that's true growth. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you here next week on Motivational Mondays.